just wondering if, when we think of what can go wrong, that if someone was a known collector that made a lot of purchases, and I think they could even be on Sports Card Scammers Exposed if they were somebody that repeatedly had some packages lost off their doorstep, and they may be completely honest, but there are people in the town or somebody knows that they're a known card collector that gets good cards. I mean, is that possible? Or is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think technically, sure, it's possible. I think, one of the things that I use that helps protect me that I think is probably worth mentioning is on the blowout forums, the eBay, the buy sell trade, some of those sections have kind of a list of eBay buyers that have had a lot of issues, or people that have had a lot of issues with. And that's not necessarily saying that they're all scammers or shady, but it could be, like you said, there's postal workers in their area that have caused problems. But I've utilized that blocked buyers list as part of my eBay selling platform and restricted the people who could potentially buy that. That probably has had some help to why I've had so few issues with PWEs. But yeah, sure, that pure risk does exist with a PWE because there is no tracking, there is no proof of delivery at that point.
Do you feel that a lenient return policy as an eBay seller has a positive effect on your sales in your experience? That you're lenient, that maybe, but from the strictest, which is I don't accept returns, to kind of the middle of the road as well, you can send a return, but you got to pay the postage, to the most generous, which is if you don't like it, send it back and I'll pay the postage coming back to me. Does that have any effect on your overall sales?
I don't know that I'm the best person to answer that. My official policy is that I don't accept returns, but as we know, there's not really any way to not accept returns on eBay, because if there is an issue, eBay will force a refund no matter what. And so you might as well at least get that card back or those cards back if there is an issue. I've had, I think, maybe only 1 or 2 return requests in the last several years. One of them was with a Project 2020, 2, I guess, both with Project 2020. One when the card values went down, the buyer had a return request. The other one was the Mike Trout mail truck fire, that clearly the cards were damaged and he got his refund. But I've had very few issues with returns or return requests. So I don't know that I've got a data-driven answer to that question.
So tracking and insurance are both, you don't even think about it unless it's above $50, or where are you with that?
Yeah, probably $25 to $50 is probably where I would be looking for, above 50 for insurance and probably above 15 to 20 for tracking for me personally.
Next question. Free shipping is strongly encouraged by eBay. Do you think, I hate to say, is it worth it for you to provide free shipping, but have you done any tests of charging for shipping as opposed to free shipping and how it affects your orders, especially for these medium-sized lots? I'm not talking about 100 or 200 or 300 cards.
Yeah, for the most part, I would say probably 90% of my eBay sales are with listings that have free shipping. There's a handful of things that I send, like the 1984 Fun Foods pins and some other things that are not worth a lot on their own and require me to be sent non-machinable, that if I was to sell one pin and free shipping, I would pay more than I would get. So there's a few listings like that I do add a shipping charge to. But for the most part, most of my listings are free, and I just essentially add that cost of shipping onto my buy it now price. And when I consider an offer from somebody, I'm baking in the fact that I'm going to have to pay shipping and fees, and am I still able to accept the price that they're offering? I think it just makes a simpler transaction when you offer free shipping. And so that's often what I go with. And
you're mainly fixed price, right?
Mostly fixed price. I'd say, again, 90% of my stuff is fixed price.
Okay. What about a person that says they do combine shipping or they don't combine shipping? Is the not combining shipping a turnoff, or is it expected? Or
yeah, I think so. In my experience, I know as a buyer, I'm always going to default to somebody who combines shipping, because more often than not, that's going to save me money in the long run. And so I always offer combined shipping as well as a seller if it's something that is not free shipping.
And do you use, I'm going a little faster here because we're running low on time, but what about using PayPal or one of the other third-party services for getting postal discounts? Do you just go through?
Yeah, so I go through eBay all the time for any eBay sales, and anything else I will use PayPal the PayPal shipping option as my alternative to achieve discounts. I don't do any package or priority mail direct at the post office because that's just paying extra money.
How helpful do you think it is in being very explicit about how you ship? I've seen people on eBay that go into great detail of how they ship. Does that provide a comfort level, or is it restrictive to the seller that, hey, I said I was going to do this, and maybe it's a boilerplate information that, it would seem like more information is good.
Yeah, for me, I use a general rule of thumb. Anytime something is going to go PWE, I explicitly state that in the listing because I don't want the buyer to be caught off guard. And so I always say that it will come PWE if that's how I'm planning to ship it. On more valuable, like higher end stuff, $75, $100, $200, I will often explicitly state that it will come priority and insured. But things that are, $25, $50, I will just say free shipping and kind of assume that it's going to come first class or whatever it might be.
Okay. And do you restrict any international deliveries?
I use the global shipping program, which I know isn't necessarily the most cost effective, but it's, in my experience, the safest for a seller to use. And so that's typically what I will do. I just click that global shipping program box, and eBay essentially takes care of the rest for what the ultimate postage is going to be. I'm only responsible for the US postage to get it to Kentucky.
That's cool. Okay. Let's see. I've got a bunch of gnarly old card boxes and gnarly old card savers and jewel cases and whatever, all these kind of supplies that I've had over the years.
Yep.
Does that even matter? Should I send that, or do people are expecting to get brand new card boxes and reusable supplies and top loaders?
Yeah. So I typically recycle decent condition supplies when I do my shipping. Those gnarly old card boxes are often what I will use when I'm packaging things up to go to ComC, when it just needs to get there safely and it's not a consumer who's doing that. And so a lot of those used card boxes end up making their way to ComC when I send in my submissions there. I will reuse penny sleeves. I will reuse top loaders and those types of things for kind of some of those lower dollar average, type cards, just to get things there safely. If it is a high-end card, a real nice autograph, relic card, something that is meaningful, I will do my best to have it in a new or like new supply, whatever that might be, whether it's a mag case, a top loader, or whatever it might be.
Well, I thought you were a top loader guy. Are you more of are you a card saver guy?
I'm more of a top loader guy by default. I will sometimes use card savers with some of my lower end PWE things if I get them in collections. I don't buy card savers new to use for that, but when I'm picking up collections, I will reuse card savers to send in some of my PWE shipments.
Everything we've talked about is about eBay and doing business with eBay and having they're just the giant of auctions. But if you get outside eBay, maybe it's Facebook or other platforms, are there any additional shipping precautions that you would take if you're not underneath the eBay umbrella?
Yeah, and Sportlots is a great example for that, right? And we did a show on Sportlots a couple months ago, but Sportlots is very set up for people to establish PWE shipping for those common cards and some of those base, low-end base and insert cards that you're going to sell on Sportlots. And they've got the flexibility to allow you to customize the amount that you charge for shipping to account for PWEs up to a certain dollar amount or a certain card number, like the number of cards in an order, and then be able to charge shipping at a first class rate for things higher than that. And so PWE is probably where Sportlots is where most of my PWE shipments have come from, but they've got a lot of flexibility built into their shipping structure that allows you to customize based on the need.
Would you ever use that Postal Service small rate box, the little tiny video, like a video box? It's a little bit cheaper. Is there anything you'd ever use that for?
Yeah, I've used that to send one or two like Topps Project 2020 cards that I've sold for that $80, $90 range. Things like that fit in there perfectly.
Because it's crush proof. It's more protection than a padded envelope.
Yeah, it's a little bit more protection than a padded flat rate envelope. And so there are things like that I've used it for. The occasional mini set or some things like that are worth enough to get insured and have that insurance along with it. But aren't big enough to send in any kind of, medium flat rate or something like that. So I do use those small flat rate boxes from time to time.
How many sizes of padded envelopes do you work with when you're sending out padded envelopes? Do you have a one size fits all? or do you have every size for every possible anything in between?
For the most part, I've got 3. The size, I think it's 00. Kind of is it 6x9, something like that. It's one of the ones that I get free from eBay for having the store. And then they've got the bigger size flat rate that are in between that and the padded flat rate from the USPS. And then I use the padded flat rate envelope from the USPS.
My point is, if you use a padded envelope and it's like too big, is that a problem? If you've got, you just have this envelope sitting there and you just put one little group of 25 or 50 cards in there and it's rattling around, sliding around, it would seem like having it more snug would be better. Am I right?
Yeah, I think you're right. But in my experience, you can either fold the envelope over, which essentially adds an extra layer of padding, and then use your packing tape to hold it snug and to make it snug. Or sometimes I will add additional bubble wrap, packaging paper, whatever it might be inside there to fill out that envelope. But oftentimes, if it's a little bit bigger, you can fold that padded flat rate or that padded envelope over, tape it secure, and it actually adds an extra layer of wrap on it.
If you had 100 cards, you would, let me just figure this out. So if you have 100 cards, and would you put 25 in each in 4 team bags, and then put them in like these little tiny cases, and then put a cardboard around it and stick it in a bubble mailer? I don't know if you get 6x9, it might need to be the 7x10 one, but
yeah, I'd say for me personally, I've done multiple things there. Sometimes I will have a snap case that fits a lot that size, and I will put them in there first. Other times I've had the small, even 100 count boxes that they're a little harder to find, but those cardboard boxes that only hold 100 cards, I've used those before. And I've also done where I've bundled them up into 4 different team bags and either sandwiched them in hard cardboard or sandwiched them in top loaders or something like that to add a little extra rigidity there. So I'm really on those types of things. I'm really at what can I do economically to reuse as much as possible so that I'm not wasting.
Okay, so you're saying if you have some 100 count boxes that are really tiny, and I don't see them that often, you throw 50 or 75 cards in there, put a little padding in there, slap a label on it, and send it
in a padded or in a bubble mailer.
So you wouldn't just single box it. Back in the old days when I bought my sets in the 70s from some of these mail order guys. In fact, the first one was 1972. It was in an 800 count box. They just slapped a label on it and mailed it.
Yeah, that does. I don't typically do that. I usually at least put it in a bubble mailer, but I think that does still happen. I bought a bunch of 1968 tops, the new set that I'm working on from a seller on Sport Lots not too long ago, and that's essentially what they did. Is they put a label on a 400 count box that they taped really tight with packing tape, and so there are some people who are still doing that, but I will typically put it in a bubble mailer just to add that extra layer of protection and reduce the transparency of what might be inside, I guess.
Exactly. And do you think that having a typewritten or a computer form shipping label makes it seem more professional, or having a handwritten makes it more folksy, or not alerting people that this is any kind of sophisticated shipment?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have moved to I have a thermal printer, Dymo thermal printer now that I use for my shipping labels. And I mainly went that route because it saves a lot of time from hand labeling everything or printing package labels with regular paper and taping them all. But that is a good point. I don't know if anybody has really done much, or has much data on whether the handwritten thing gives it that folksy feel of, I don't want to mess with this, or it's just a personal package or whatever it might be. That's a good question. I don't know that I've ever thought through it to that level.
We're out of time, and I know we'll have some future discussions about this or anything else, but it just seems to me, I was reading somewhere online that if you're sending the PWE cards, make it look like it's a birthday card. Who's going to steal some kid's birthday card, or adult's birthday card for that matter? The man in the house of cards.